Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight panel series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. I'm sitting down today with a number of phenomenal business leaders here in the Austin, Central Texas market. Just excited to dive in, have some conversation around business, around some different things that have worked, that haven't worked. Some piece of advice, just words of wisdom for the audience out there, the greater entrepreneur and business community. So first and foremost, gentlemen, I want to say thank you for taking the time to be here. Let's just start with a little bit of a background and intro. Let's take kind of 2 minutes. I'll kind of give you all a chance here. We'll go kind of 2-ish minutes. Give us who you are and tell us a little bit about your business specifically, and we'll just kind of get kicked off with there before we jump into some of the questions. Justin, you're kind of up first on my screen, so I'll kick it over to you first. But give us kind of the 2 minute snapshot of who's Justin and tell us about your business.
Yeah, my name is Justin Schoenfelder. I'm the founder and CEO of Fantasy Elect. We are gamifying politics. We're treating it as a fantasy sport. So what that really means is that you're able to draft a team of politicians and play against other people during an election. You score points and you can play for money, for just for bragging rights. And it was just an idea that came to me while playing fantasy football with friends in 2015. And the whole political landscape kind of exploded and changed in that moment. And lots of energy and newfound engagement among people. So that's really what we're doing. Me personally, I spent 4 years in Vietnam before coming to Texas. Previously, I was in California, went to Vietnam. So this was an idea that sat for a long time, which I'm happy to talk about. It was something I didn't do anything with from 2015 to 2022. And I think that's sometimes necessary. So I've been grew up moving around the country. My dad worked for the government, so I've lived in 10 states, and I think that informs a lot of what we're doing. I've worked in many different industries as an operator. So yeah, I think that really kind of sums it up. I think those different industries and that diverse background leads to everything that I do every day.
Very cool. Excited to kind of dive into some of the experiences as you've gone through your process, and thank you for being here. Brian, I'll hand it over to you next. Give us kind of the 2 minute pitch on you and tell us a little bit about your business.
You betcha. Brian Kerpak, born and raised Texan. Probably first and foremost, it's kind of becoming a rarity nowadays, I think, especially here in Austin, Texas. Been in the tech world for 25 years before Affluent Exteriors, which I started as a side hustle in about 2018, kind of going through a hailstorm on my home property here over in the Westlake area. Was vice president of global sales for a software company. Left about 6 months ago. So really, the way that I've kind of looked at the industry, I've done early stage startups. I've kind of run global software teams around the world. And obviously, with the vast influx of folks that are coming into the area, the construction company that I had started on the side pre-COVID, I mean, I guess as an entrepreneur, you learn how to manage and spin as many plates as possible, right? So at some point pre-COVID, we had offices in Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, and the Lubbock area. Scaled the team up pretty well, so was able to run construction, run software companies and what have you. And then about 6 months ago, we pivoted to doing full exteriors construction. And I kind of bring a tech side to it, right? So the contractor services industry is got a pretty bad name to it. Some guys take money and run, some guys don't do really good work. It's kind of a really kludgy industry. And I'm kind of coming at it from more of an executive technology side of it. So we leverage tech that gives all of our clients a client portal as soon as we do engagements. We provide photos, we provide estimates. It's almost like the Amazon of construction, digital payments, you name it. So it really kind of, our role is to kind of become the trusted advisor with our clients. We don't hard close, we first educate you. And nowadays, for the amount of money that people spend on projects, and most of that being hard cash, they've already done their research. They've already looked at you online a little bit. They kind of understand who it is, what trades need to be done. So it's really the team that we have, and then we're growing. We're probably growing the fastest since I've gone full time. revenues have accelerated 6x. So it's just been one of those, I can't hire salespeople fast enough. I think I've figured out the lead funnel. And we've done a really good job of recruiting subcontractors and kind of bringing them into our fold. So it's been a fun run. Still a lot of plates spinning and none of them hit the ground yet. Sometimes I feel like they're about to, but it's been fun and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here as well, Brian, and excited to allow you to kind of share some of your experiences. You've gone through that and some of the discussion today. Let's see, Bobby, you are up next kind of on my screens here. Why don't you give us the 2 minutes or so on a little bit about you and your business?
So yeah, I moved to Austin in 2000. I'm actually native Texan, also from South Texas originally, but after I was in the military for a long time, moved to Austin after college to be a singer-songwriter, like half the population of Austin, and doesn't pay the bills. So I ended up waiting table. I was in the service industry for 16 years. Ended up going to work for PayPal after that for my wife and I had our first son, and ended up in fintech. And for the last decade or so, I've been working in payments, in general, credit card, merchant services, ACH, you name it. If it's payments, I do it. I'm with a company now called EPSG, that I am a contractor for. So I handle all things payments, any industry. That aside, though, when my wife and I moved out to the Manor, Northeast Austin area, my wife is a teacher. She's also my business partner, and we opened. And I think this is how you actually found me. We opened a preschool up in Manor, and we're sort of the go-to spot in Manor now. It's called Bisbee Preschool, right on 290. We are actually expanding at the moment. We have a 4-classroom building right now, and we are expanding and doubling that. We just bought an acre, just half a mile up 290, and we're building a 7,500 square foot facility with 8 classrooms, and so we'll double our capacity there. And then simultaneously, the timing was not ideal at all, but being in the music industry, some partners and I also purchased 3.5 acres on 130, about 4 minutes north of Tesla, between Tesla and Manor, and we were opening a bar and music venue. So got my hands in a lot, and honestly, just the one business. When we opened the preschool, we didn't have any money coming into this, and it was sort of a roll of the dice type thing. We had gotten pregnant with our second son, and my wife was teaching at a special needs school called the Rise School of Austin over on the east side, where my oldest son was going as an inclusion student. Second one wasn't old enough to go there yet, so we were like, where are we going to send him? And she really wasn't satisfied with any of the offerings that Manor had, and so we kind of rolled the dice and we're like, can we open a business? And it was very much just learn as you go type stuff, and ran in. I thought this is going to get shut down every step of the way, because we were just destined to be broke our whole life. I was a musician, she was a teacher. It was like, we're cool, we'll just be poor and it'll be fun. But we we went and found a spot, found a lease, got a loan, went through the whole process, and just basically ate, drank, slept this stuff. And it was rough, but it's been a cool learning experience, and frankly enabled us to kind of find that entrepreneurial spirit and go out and, hey, let's do this again, and the entertainment's, there's a pretty big entertainment desert up here on this side of Austin in general. Manor, Elgin, there's not a lot to do, and Manor's the 7th fastest growing suburb in the U.S. And so we decided to go the music venue route. I had all those connections, and it was another one of those quarterbacking deals where it's like, man, I have all of these pieces, I might as well just put them together. And so we're doing that. It's a big indoor, outdoor music, live music venue, bar. So anyway, yeah, I've got hands on a lot of stuff, and lots to learn, but I think I've learned a lot as well through the process, and I enjoy it, and like adding to that knowledge set. So I'm excited to hear from all you guys too, and pick up hopefully some more information.
Awesome. I love it. I appreciate it. Your insight and kind of path that you've taken will be fun for the conversation today as well. So I appreciate you being here, Bobby. Joe, I'll hand it over to you to round us off with kind of intros, things like that. But give us kind of the background of you and tell us a little bit about your business.
All right, perfect. So my name is Joe Yamas. I am founder and CEO of a company called Running Bull Technologies. What we do is we take immersive technology, primarily virtual reality, and we visualize networks and network technology. So what does that mean? It means that we can take an AWS cloud infrastructure or something along those lines and create a digital twin or a digital version of that cloud. And that will enable you to run cybersecurity simulations inside of that digital environment, or enablement pieces, or visualize that network in a way that isn't possible in any other way other than immersive technology. So I spent my life in Texas. I'm native Texan as well. I came out of the University of Texas following a 3D printing technology. So I used to take digital parts or digital files and create physical parts. Then I went into scanning and I took digital or physical parts and then turned them into digital files. And now I create digital worlds. So that's pretty much what I concentrate on and what I do. We have a services part of the organization as well, so we can create virtual reality experiences, mainly B2B and business applications, for a variety of different uses. So that's just the short story there.
I love it. Well, I appreciate it, and welcome. Thank you for being here, Joe. I appreciate it. All right, let's dive into some fun questions and just kind of get into it. I always like to start with kind of this one with regards to kind of roles within the business, but I kind of heard it, I think, in passing with from a few of you, but maybe just quick show of hands. Which of you would have employees that you have on your team at the moment? All right, that's what I thought. So with that, I always like to ask the question of like, what's your role within the business, or how many different hats do you get to wear? Brian, you mentioned having a number of different plates spinning at once. But maybe talk through a little bit on kind of what your current role, or which roles, plural, do you currently play in the business? And if you want to take it a step further, how has that shifted, over the last couple of years? Like, has that changed from when you started the business and it being maybe just you to where you are today? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so I think for me, so for all of the companies that I've worked for and people that I've worked under, one of the core principles that they always kind of preached to me was that for any successful business, it really kind of requires three core things: people, process, and technology, or the right use of technology, right? And if you don't really have all three of those aligned, you're always kind of focusing on some of those to kind of get them all together. So, as a side hustle, some of it was kind of always out there a little bit, but really when it was okay, I'm going all in. And I went to my wife that night and I'm like, we're doing this. And by the way, we also let them know that we're doing this as well on the other side. That just really lets you get really focused fast around, hey, where do we, let's stack it up, let's put priority on it, and let's start taking care of things. So in order to just really build something truly scalable, though, you have to have process in place. Right. So it was more focused on, all right, how do we really systemize this entire sales process around client engagement? So that was when I was just basically being the lone sales guy, going back to the core of, I'm going to run all the appointments. And every time I met with the client, as soon as I got in the vehicle, it was asking my questions of what can I automate? What kind of process needs to be in place? What's the next step here? And completely built that out from the initial leads coming in and how that completely automates as a follow-up to a client before they even know who we are, and to make that introduction both as an email and a text message, but then all the way through to the client getting the invite to a client portal, the communications that we have with them, little nudges. I think at this point, I've built almost 300 automations in our system in regards to taking them through that process that are constant reminders to the sales rep. So day one, hey, you forgot to do this. Guess what? Day two, you forgot to do this. Day three, day four is kind of the last one. This is the last reminder you're going to get. Otherwise, you need to go tell your manager why you're not taking care of things. So it really kind of systemizes that process. But at the same time, I can now just insert people in there and kind of have that piece going, right? So that's kind of been one of my core things. I don't run as many appointments as I have to used to anymore. Now it's more around kind of really kind of at the growth points. I mean, I do have people in Lubbock. I do have people in San Antonio, people here in Austin. I'm trying to get Houston off the ground as fast as I can. So I'm a little bit of a road warrior between I-35 and 10 and 71, trying to hit the golden triangle of what I call it. But that's probably been the big thing of stepping back a little bit. Kind of when we originally interviewed, right? There's a difference between working in your business and working on your business. So I'm still working in it. I have an appointment today. I'm a little bit more selective about the appointments that I want to take, just because I'm kind of getting into some different nuances, right? It went from just doing roofs, and which is everybody's a roofer, which is just not a name that I like. So we're full exteriors on the contractor side. So stucco, stone, rock, block, brick. We do patios, we do decks, we do concrete. And it's fun to see things, people build things and make their homes more beautiful, and new projects, and see exciting faces come out when people walk out of their house, and it's like, whoa, like this isn't what we expected, but we love it. So it makes it easier when you ask for the check and the bill for that to get handed over. But that's probably been a big thing. Now it's more people. I mean, probably the biggest thing right now is people. It's probably the biggest challenge I think all entrepreneurs have is you've got a vision, and you've got something that you really are passionate about and believe in, and you think you're doing something really unique in the industry that helps you differentiate and set yourself apart from the competition that's out there. Trying to find those right individuals that fit that mold of what it is you're looking for. I can't reproduce myself. I wish I could sometimes. Sometimes it's probably a blessing that I don't. But trying to find the right DNA of the individuals that have that drive, have that desire to want to be successful, and are just looking for a way or a company to join that has that culture of, hey, we're here to help, we're here to train you. We've got an internal wiki that we've built around all of the training and all the material and the whole process, right? So I'm adamant about if you have a question, you should go to the wiki first. We're all self-taught, I think, best. Especially if we're kind of what I like to call read people. I read Surrounded by Idiots. We'll talk about books at some point, but it's probably one of my best books I'm reading right now. So understand the psychology of people, right? And how do you go get those warriors that are out there that you give them a machete and you say, there's the forest, go find a way and go make some sales in the process. So that's probably been the big thing, just stepping back a little bit. But it's as you know, it's an entrepreneur. Sometimes you step back and you see something going on and you want to jump right back in. So nature of the beast.
Yeah, isn't that an interesting phenomenon when you can see it from a different perspective, especially when others kind of come into play, and then in some ways having to get back in, but not full-fledged necessarily as maybe it was before. But how about for the rest of y'all? Kind of what role do you play in the business, and how might it have changed over the last year or two as you continue to develop?
Well, I think the best piece of advice I got was, are you a founder or are you a CEO? Because in order to go from one to the other, it does take a different skill set. And so I don't know that I was completely aware of where that jump from founder to CEO really occurred, or even that I was on that path. And really to have some honest conversations with yourself. Like, some founders can't be CEOs, and there's certainly CEOs that can't be founders. And so understanding, are you the guy that just wants to build something and then get out and let someone else grow it? Or do you actually want to take it and grow with it? And then really evaluating yourself for that skill set and understanding, what it is that you're good at and what you're not good at, and then allowing the people to take it from there and kind of take your baby and run with it. So that was the best advice I got. And, I guess that kind of helped me get away from founder-led sales, which is another kind of I would say a stepping point in the progression of a company. So once you can move away from founder-led sales, it sounds like you may have a real company to run, and that's when your role kind of changes.
I love that. I'll throw something in there just because it's that was a really powerful point. At one point we had to sit down and actually draw out our organizational chart, and it's well, most of us own the business, but we still have to put ourselves underneath these different roles and things like that. And it was well, even the CEO can be fired. It's a role within the company. Just because your name's under it doesn't mean that you have a conversation with the between owner and CEO, that you can still tell the CEO that they suck, even if it's just you, right? It's oh, that's an interesting way to look at it. Because eventually one day it may not be you. There's somebody else that could slide into that role and play it. And yeah, they are different skill sets from being the owner or the founder.
And founders, founders get ousted all the time. And I think, we all heard those famous stories, but it really is true. And so, again, you just need to be really, really truthful with yourself and understand what you're good at and what you're not.
Yeah.
I'd also say, like, my experience being that we're such a this might also be Joe's experience, but being a tech company, I was a non-tech founder. So um so I think there's a mindset among some people that being a non-tech founder and a solo founder for a tech company is a disadvantage. I found it to be an advantage because right away I pursued it as building a company, not wanting to go build something. So for me, it wasn't like, oh, I know how to, I'm a software engineer, so now I get to go exercise that muscle. If you know how to swing a hammer, everything can look like a nail. So I started by, let's validate the business. Let's see if people would pay to play this game. And we did that with Google Sheets and Zoom calls. That didn't cost us anything except for time. So, and we got people to pay to play. From there, once we validated and it was okay, let's go build it. I had to do everything except for the engineering part because I don't have that skill set, but I had to teach myself enough to be able to understand the language that each department would use. Um, and to your point, like even now, we're still early days and we're very lean. We're raising right now. So it's a very kind of lean operation. I do TikToks every day. I do all of our social media. I hired a chief product person, a CTO, CMO, all of these roles. But interestingly enough, I really only hired them to be my teachers. I knew that I didn't have certain skill sets, they did. And it's far cheaper for me to be the main operator under all of that. So I basically hired people to be my boss in each vertical. And then I put the CEO hat on and I talk about strategy. This is what we need to achieve from a business perspective. How is this going to work with you, CPO? How do we achieve this? Then once we set the strategy, we work together to go execute it. And for all intents and purposes, the person with the most experience, I let them kind of figure out how to do that and they direct me. Doesn't mean that I don't maybe push back a little bit. Like, are we really achieving this? I don't see how. Explain it to me. But I'm still in that chunking up, chunking down, CEO 1 minute and social media manager the next.
Oh, it's a really good kind of framework to that you articulate with kind of the group and the audience here. Just kind of looking at the different areas and bringing on people that can kind of teach you in each of the areas and make sure that they're each of those verticals or kind of pillars of the business are strong, because it's very difficult to be really good at all of them, especially first time through anything like that. So Bobby, how about for you? Any kind of additional insight on your end, or kind of
Yeah, I'm
what
gonna be
you're...
the one to dumb this down a little bit. You guys are all, I'm on the other end of the spectrum with the small business stuff, and I think for us, like I said, my wife has been a great business partner. We very much have a thing going on and sort of counter personalities and are able to be the sounding board for each other. But when we decided to go into the entrepreneurial world, I think we took for granted the business part of it. She has a master's degree in early childhood special education, and that's her passion, has been her lifelong passion. And she's like, I can do this all day long. We can run a preschool. That's easy. But you go into business and you don't realize, you mentioned those other hats, Tanner. It's like those hats matter if you don't have somebody to come in and fill those spots. And I'm talking, you guys are all in the tech world and talking about that stuff. I'm talking about there's a dead possum on the playground. I need somebody to come get it. We've got I fixed a sink this weekend. The little stuff that hiring, fine, personnel management, that is big. It's especially for something like what we do, where we've got this little 3,000 square foot building, but we have 10 staff members, and they're taking care of our customers' most precious possessions, which are their children. And it's like, you want to hire the right people, and one big learning thing for me was hiring. And it's like, people can sound great on a resume, and then you get them and they actually, you bring them on and they're not everything. They interviewed really well, but they're not that great in person, and once you have them. And then the opposite is true too. We some of our best teachers have been people that maybe were slightly underqualified and needed some on the job training, and they came in and they thrived and they listened and wanted to learn and were hungry for it, and well, hopefully, and then they're going to go into this expansion with us and take on senior leadership positions there. So, you know, I've sort of stepped back. I used to be a lot more involved in all of the hiring and stuff. My wife has become really good at that, but being your own accountant until you want to outsource that, it's just all those little things that come in the early stages. And we've been in business. I mean, we started outsourcing a little bit more. We opened in 2017 and have grown a lot. We're at capacity now. But the reason we're expanding is we've got room for 50 kids in that school, and we have a waiting list of 144 right now. And so, we're expanding, but as you grow, I think you learn to outsource and let people do what they're good at. To your point a minute ago, Brian, but I don't know. We're wearing all the hats, and I think just being malleable and willing to learn what needs to be learned when it's time to be learned, but then also not recognizing that sometimes it's just better to bring somebody on that knows more than you do and let them do what they're good at. So that's been my experience. Like I said, just dumbing it down a bit, but there you go.
I love that. As I kind of look back at even just like our experience, at least for me, I found that it's like kind of important to know a little bit about kind of each of the different roles and actually like get into it a bit before I can hire somebody for it, like really understand it. And then I can go hire somebody that can really just maximize that particular thing. But I got to know enough about the role to make sure that I can hire the person and they're not, BSing their way through what it actually would be for that role. So I think there is, especially in the beginning, there's a lot of, you got to wear a lot of the hats, at least to a degree for a while, and learn some different lessons along the way and that sort of thing. But let's, I'd love to kind of shift over, personally, I love asking some questions around marketing. It's one of those areas that so important to every business out there. And it's not always the one that just, each business owner picks up and is like phenomenal at from day one. Some can do it, not always. We've talked a little bit, here and there within the conversation today, but especially with, the probably vast differences in each of y'all's target markets. I'd love to just kind of hear what's worked for you, kind of what's been your philosophy behind marketing for your business, kind of even as specific as like what channels have worked and which ones have you tried that just like didn't work at all and that was not your forte. But give us some context. What's worked marketing wise to get the word out there about your business and what y'all do?
We're sitting around Robin here, and how's this going? Since I started first, I'll continue to go good. I think it's, as I said when we kind of went through the first time of it, right? I mean, you're not from an ad spend perspective, especially for someone that's looking for contractor type services, you're not going to outspend the home advisors, the networks, those lead funnels that are the top click on the Google that are spending millions of dollars in ads. And trying to use those as the vetted source for a contractor, which isn't necessarily the case, but I'm not going to complain about that. So the key is, right, you've got to learn how to play well within that realm. And then obviously, even when those leads, whether it's exclusive, which is a lot more simple to deal with versus something that may be spread across a couple of different contractors, what's the fastest way that I can differentiate who I am and my service in the way that I operate and engage my clients versus my competition? So digitally, we found a way to play kind of what I like to call way upper channel. There's still the normal things. One of my goals this year is, and hopefully everybody will see me on TV, right? So I want to run a TV ad across the Austin market first as a test. But in order to do that, we need to have enough salespeople in place that hopefully when people do see my smiling face on TV and they're like, yeah, I have a problem, and that guy looks trustworthy and the phone rings, there's enough people behind the scenes that can actually go facilitate that. And it's not me that shows up to go do all those meetings. So I think TV is an interesting one to chase. There's still a lot of people that do normal Facebook, and I think some of those just become kind of the norm. To me, it's a little bit noise, and we've tested it a little bit in the past, haven't seen much success. I am intrigued and am curious about the whole TikTok side of things. I've seen and talked to a couple of folks that do TikTok, not in the industry that I'm in, but in other industries. And I've just reached out to them when I'm seeing their TikTok and was like, look, I'm not a candidate, but I just want to ask, like, how has the experience been for you? You know, have you seen the leads come in that you've anticipated? And quite frankly, I'll say a vast majority, not all, but a vast majority have been like, Brian, we're blown away by just the number of people that have come from an engagement on that side of the platform. So I think that's cool. You know, maybe I need to stand in front of some of our construction projects and just kind of give my whiz bang spiel and kind of show some real guys doing real work versus me just standing there in a shirt looking pretty. But you know, I think social is everybody's got a phone in their face, right? I mean, let's be realistic, depending on who your target market is. So the easiest way to really build, I think really it's about building a brand. It's not just a lead, but you know, if you're doing something that's going to be sustainable, it's got to be a brand that really resonates with your market. They've seen you a lot of times. They've gone and done their research on you. So the more that you can actually, you know, be in their face, whether it's on their phone or on the TV screen, is really, I think, where you're going to get your biggest bang for the buck. It's expensive, right? It's a cost to it. So I think part of it is do it, measure quick, and see what your results are. And then from there, if it's investable, invest in it and go after it, explode it.
Yeah,
I pivot. Sorry.
yeah. No. It's funny because I think there's just so many, it really depends on each business in so many ways, right? So we're consumer tech, very different how we would approach something than B2B tech or even consumer home building, right? Like it's going to be approached differently. But a caveat to that is like, I do think that there are some things that are surprisingly, they would surprise you how well they work. Like there's a guy who makes pottery on TikTok. I couldn't tell you how much pottery he sells because of that, but he has over 1 million followers on TikTok, which is monetizable in itself, right? So it's, I think, you know, as much as it may be a joke, but if you deliver some sort of quick value in a TikTok in front of a home thing about like, this is what to do to prevent hail damage. We throw up tarps or whatever it might be. That alone could start to generate things that you would be surprised by. For us, it's about necessity as well. Like we lean heavily into social because it's free. You know, we're not paying for ads. It's a long tail. It takes a lot of effort and front end work before you start to get that growth. And you never know when it is. It requires a lot of consistency, but I do believe as far as like, I can't think of another channel that's as free as that. There's some low cost, but it's just a completely free thing that's out there and everyone's giving you their attention. And we also do like email marketing. You know, we acquire emails, we do a newsletter, we're very engaged. My political advisor and I do a podcast, are doing a podcast. We had a goal, we have a goal of recording one a week for 52 weeks and then releasing it. So the first episode will be out this week. And but that also is a free outlet. We can record through Zoom and post it for free on YouTube as a podcast, right? So it's one of those things where when you I think I think it was maybe you, Brian, you mentioned like team tech and the third thing, what was it? The third thing?
People process and technology, yeah.
Yeah, the people process and tech. I would add in there that to me, the primary skill that I find I'm consistently using is resourcefulness, is how can I get the maximum impact with the lowest cost? It's all ROI. So I've had to teach myself all of it, and it was built on years of previous endeavors that I had the mindset, oh, if I build it, they will come, and they never came, and it was always a failed endeavor. And I refused to do the same thing this time. So from the moment we started doing some form of marketing consistently, including we do in real life events. We host a fantasy sports meetup. We do in real life events. And I think that is, I just refuse to make the same mistake again after making it so many times. I don't know if I'm good at it. I think sometimes, oh, that was good. Other times, I'm like, oh, that wasn't good. So it's a consistent learning process.
Yeah,
Stepping
I
on
think
my
you touched on
toes.
a couple of I think you touched on a couple of key points there, right? So one of those things is money, obviously. So making that investment, if you are going to go try to find a marketing firm or somebody to help you in that regard, I mean, trying to find that perfect marketing firm who can give you the bang for the buck, man, it's like a needle in a haystack, right? And I have gone through several marketing firms with the promises that they can, deliver on sales ultimately. And it's just something that's really, really tricky to do. But then you also touched on live events, right? So community. And I would say maybe that's something that people underappreciate is actually forming a community and the impact that forming a community can have on your business. We're a little bit different. I mean, we're B2B. So I think on the panel, I'm probably the only B2B company on here. And so for us, it's quite a bit different. I mean, we are in a completely different kind of arena where we're more into the IT channel. So, we're hitting OEMs, resellers, even in some instances, some of the big distributors. And so, for us, it really is all about our relationships and people, and that's kind of what we did initially. We leveraged the people that we did know in our network and really leaned heavily on word of mouth. Now we're really big into HubSpot and doing email marketing and more of the digital marketing tools. And then I think we are going to start trying to form some sort of virtual reality, augmented reality community based selling. And so we'll see how that goes. And in terms of a go-to-market strategy and those things, I think, if you really get your ICP nailed down and those personas, and then go through the validation process, kind of like what you were talking about, then, I think it just, all that work up front leads to the success that you're talking about.
Yeah, I've a sort of unique experiences being on different sides of this. From my music, I bit the TikTok thing and I was like, let's just see what this is about, and because so many people were having so much success with it, and I'd recorded several music videos and I just took little pieces of it and threw it on TikTok, thinking let's just see what happens. And it's been surprising, like how many people, how many strangers, right? Because as a musician, from the artistic standpoint, that's the biggest appeal. Is like if you can get to audience members, an audience that are not comprised of your friends and family, that then you're winning. And forget monetization, that like you're just trying to get out there, you just hope to be heard. And TikTok's amazing like that. I have people from all over just adding you and then following you, like, man, how weird that this is actually working, and it's this free thing that we have, and so it's cool there. One of you was talking about community. Joe, that might have been you actually just mentioned that. For the school, we haven't spent a penny on marketing, and that's been really, really nice. We got roped into a really high rent rate for the lease that we were at because it was right on 290 as you come into Austin on Manor. And it was like, man, this sucks that we're paying this much for rent, but we haven't had to market. People, you can't move into this town and not know we exist. We're right by the golf course. People see us, sign it. We have a very modest sign up, and like I said, we're at capacity times 5. So and what we did early on back in 2017, right when we opened, more because we thought we needed to be spending something on marketing. We went and joined the chamber, and we sponsored a couple of chamber events and that kind of stuff. And it's not that we didn't enjoy that or don't want to continue to contribute, but it was kind of like this didn't really, it helped to kind of initially put our name out there, but really word of mouth, especially in our industry, in education in general, word of mouth and having people speak for you to their peers, that helps a lot. And then pivoting to this last thing, I'm experiencing both sides. Both the company I was with previously, we spent a ton on marketing. We catered to legal specific, and so all of my leads were inbound. I wasn't having to go out and look for them at all because we had a marketing team handling that and bringing them to us. Worked great. Even in there, though, like in the legal community, the attorneys, you can look at an ad all day long, but if your colleague recommends this company, that goes a long way. So word of mouth is huge, even in that world. One of my struggles currently with this new position, which is much more, I'm not chained to any vertical, being able to go out and go after any business I want, but I'm also kind of feeling some of these pains right now where I'm going, where do I market? I did some stuff on Facebook. I can't remember, Brian, I think it was you that said you didn't see a lot of success with that. I did not either. I think a lot of people see stuff on social media and kind of just keep scrolling, and it just doesn't get a lot of traction. And especially around merchant services, nobody wants to hear about credit card processing. We all, and I'm overly empathetic about it because we get solicited all the time for stuff, and it's like, yeah, next thing, we're good. We don't want to hear about it. Nobody wants to. And so it's hard to be, I'm trying to figure out those hurdles right now, how to get over that, and how to get people to at least trust me enough to look at their pricing and say, hey, what can I do to make this better for you? And if I can't, I'm sure you guys can all relate to this. Like, we're all busy. I don't want to waste my time pursuing somebody that I can't help. If I can't help you, I'll be the first person to tell you that, and then I'll move on. So, I think it varies vertical to vertical, but the online thing, I think it is, one of y'all said a second ago, just the fact that Facebook is free, the fact that you can go out and or spend minimal dollars and get for the most part, I think is a pretty valuable win for anybody, especially on the small business side.
And I love this discussion. Marketing is probably that like passion point that I just love chatting about. So it's just fun to hear all the different perspectives, things like that. And I've learned kind of over the last year or so that I think kind of ties into a lot of things that y'all have said. And Brian, with your process thing is like really important. It's two things. It's one, what's the full relationship cycle, like from the moment they see you to the moment that you actually like close the sale. I personally believe that's why there's a whole bunch of marketing firms out there that aren't quite getting the results that they say that they're going to get. Is they're really good at the marketing side, but it's on the business then be really good at how do I transition that to the proper sales funnel and building relationships, especially in a B2B type of a situation. It's massive on the relationship sides, or if you've got a high ticket item like you do, Brian, like there's a lot of relationship building that's required, and it's all got to like map together from the very front to the end of it. So lots of fun stuff when it comes to marketing. I am like blown away.
Can I
Yeah,
jump
go
in?
ahead.
It's interesting that you say that because I heard someone say recently, it might have been Gary Vee, I don't know, but like marketing to me, for me, is never persuasion. And I think sometimes like if you're getting, because you said, marketing agencies are bringing in leads, but they're not converting. One of the things that hit me right away is that potentially those actually aren't qualified good leads. Like the marketing was really good at persuading people to take that next step. But when it came time to closing the deal, that persuasion fell short because it was persuasion rather than I heard a guy say marketing is hanging up a shingle. And as long as you get that shingle out to enough views, the people who need you are going to find you. You don't have to sell them. And I think that that's one of the benefits of social almost ubiquitously across industry and even B2B, depending on if you want to call like LinkedIn is social, right? If you are putting out content, you're consistently saying this is what we're offering. And if you're doing that long enough, I might not need it for years, but when I do, oh, I've been following this guy for so long. He's the point. And then it isn't a persuasion or a sale. It is, I just need you. And I don't want to look any further because human beings are lazy. So that's why I think for us is like consistently putting out content about what you're doing is really such a force multiplier in that aspect. I could be wrong, and I wasn't saying that what you were saying was wrong. I'm just saying it made me think that how you do that as well is really important.
Yeah, it's brilliant. One of the things that I learned early on is that marketing is really just salesmanship in print. And if you're really like, you look at some of the best salespeople ever, whether within your organizations or, some of the best sales trainers and all that kind of stuff, it's all about relationship building. It's not about persuasion. It's not, but it's helping them make the choice that's right for them to buy. Right. And marketing is just that in a quote unquote print format. And I think that was stated before digital was, really big, but it's the same same concept. It's just how do you help develop that relationship all the way along so that when it gets to the sales conversation, whenever that time comes up, that it becomes an easy choice for them. They know you're the guy, right? And they go towards it. Yeah, I absolutely love that. I appreciate you bringing that in, Justin. So I want to kind of bring us back together because I'm like looking at the clock and am blown away by the fact that we have just like completely sped through, the time that we have here today. And I do want to be respectful. So we'll do one rapid fire question and then we'll run into kind of how everyone can find out more information about you, all that sort of thing. So I'm torn. I want to do either advice or book recommendations. Which would you all prefer to do?
My advice would be to read a lot of books. So it's kind of ties on both.
And Brian, you mentioned having a book recommendation. Let's do book recommendation. This can be either a book recommendation that you have on the top of your head, or and it could be one that you listen to, anything else like that. But book recommendation, or a book that you've are currently reading or read most recently, or if you aren't into books at all, like what's a podcast or something else that you think is really valuable to others. So that'll be kind of the frame. Brian, you got yours. Go for it.
So Surrounded by Idiots, the title itself would actually fool you, but it's actually about the 4 types of human behavior and how effectively you communicate with each in business and in life. It's a great story about a man in Iowa that really wanted to figure out human behavior. His son went to the University of Iowa, became a developer. The two got together, and now they've probably built one of the most biggest software companies that are now globally. They moved out to Arizona, but it's a great book around 4 human types of behavior. And when you start to read this, you very quickly see where you fit in the color scheme. There's 4 colors. Us being all entrepreneurs here, we're all reds, no doubt about it. We probably have a couple other hues of color, maybe a yellow or a green in there as well. Probably not any blues, but a really good book. And the other one I would highly recommend, just started this one on the side, but I think obviously just for all entrepreneurs out there, Scale or Fail. Really good as well to kind of wrap your head around some of the pieces out there around if you're going to really build something, it really requires a dream team to get that done. There is no I in team, but all successful businesses have a lot of moving pieces and parts. And I think as a CEO or a leader of your organization, the most successful thing you can do is put the reins in the hands of other people that see and want to go deliver on exactly the goals and things that you set out forth. And if you can do that successfully, I think that the real dream of a real successful CEO or owner or founder or wherever you are is that if you can actually build something and take your family on a trip for a week or 2 weeks and let the business still continue to thrive, then you've done your job.
I love it. Phenomenal recommendations. Justin, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, it's I love the question. The thing I would say about the recommendation, I'm going to actually recommend a podcast because the guy, the podcast is solely based on books. So he'll read a book about a founder and then digest it for you and tell you. So it's Founders. I was just looking it up. I was listening, Brian, I promise, but I was also looking it up. It's called Founders, and the host is David Senra. And so the reason I say that is because it's many books about many founders, and not just founders. His most recent episode I just saw was like Jesus. It's Jesus, actually, is his most recent episode, which I haven't listened to. I didn't expect it to be Jesus, but I'm going to go listen to it because I think that's interesting. But I would also say, like, surprisingly, it doesn't have to be domain specific about founders or about anything else. I've read books that are about like poker players, and I see things like, oh, that can be applicable. I spent a long time as a writer, and books that I read about writing, I apply not to writing content, but to how to digest information from people when they give me notes about what we're doing. When I listen to a user and they give me feedback, I realize that sometimes the feedback they're giving me isn't really where the problem is. It's 2 steps earlier. And that was something I learned from writing when somebody's like, oh, that scene doesn't work. The problem was in the setup in the previous act. So the point being is that so much knowledge is cross-domain that I wouldn't get myopic in my view of the type of books, but see what you can apply to many different areas.
Very cool. I love that. Bobby, recommendations.
Man, I wish I had more time to read. I have had a book on my nightstand forever that I've been meaning to crack open called Creative Quest by Questlove, and it's just about the creative process and sort of doing tackling all the stuff that gets in your way to make room for that, which I obviously haven't even made enough room to read the book, so that's a problem. I am reading short stories to my boys right now, but that are about the revised 10-minute digestible versions of Greek mythology stories that they're all into. They're 8 and 11. So as far as podcasts go, though, there was one I've not listened to in a little bit, but I anytime I do, I enjoy it. It's Revisionist History, which you guys may have already heard of, but Malcolm Gladwell. It's always good. Yeah, unfortunately, I have a lot to contribute to that topic. I wish I could do a lot more in the self-betterment area, but I'm busy. So
Awesome. Joe, how about for you?
Most of the time I listen to Entrepreneur on Fire. So, big podcast guy. In terms of reading, I mean, most of my reading is all done on the latest tech coming out. It's really, really hard to keep up on the amount of tech that's coming out, especially in regards to immersive technology. And one thing that we didn't touch on that I was kind of thinking about in the back of my mind is how each one of us is maybe leveraging AI. So because I read a lot about AI and how to bring AI into the business or how to use it effectively. So that's pretty much where I spend most of my time.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Let's very quickly run around. I want to make sure that everyone, as we wrap up here today, knows where they can go to connect with y'all, to find out more about your business, to support y'all, connect with y'all, all that fun stuff as they go forward. We'll just go back in the same order we just finished on. Brian, why don't you kick us off? Where can we go for more information?
Social media, online as well. I think we're on all the platforms, about to get on TikTok as well. It's actually created, just haven't posted any content yet. Affluent Exteriors is the company name, AFFLUENT Exteriors. Again, we just cater ourselves to a little bit of a different clientele. Everybody wants a kind of a visual, to really see what does my project look like, ask questions. And so, people want to do a business with people they know, like, and trust. And it's our job on our side of the world as a contractor to gain your trust, deliver a solid product, and obviously ask for references and continue to grow our business.
Beautiful. Justin, where can we go for more information?
All right. I'm going to take a big risk. I'm actually going to give everybody my direct email address. I know this is going to be on the internet. Suddenly I'm going to get inundated, but it's just my first name, Justin at fantasyelect.io. Happy to connect with anyone until it becomes something where all I'm doing every day is answering emails, but happy to get an email from anyone who's seen this and would like to talk more. And the fellow panelists as well. I'm so curious about each one of you. I'd love to connect outside as well.
Beautiful.
For sure.
Bobby, how about for you? Where can we go for more information?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw this up. That is my name. That's how you spell it. That is what I'm under from my music. That is my work name. That's my real name, Bobby Bookout. You can BobbyBookout.com gets you my website, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. That's sort of the nature of being in the music world. You have to put yourself out there, whore yourself out as much as you can on social media. So find me, and if you have questions about any of that, payments related, whatever, I'm happy to talk to you. So
I thought I was taking a risk. Bobby gave his phone number.
yeah, it's all man. When they made me use my personal cell on this, so I was like, all right, we're doing it. Let's it's out there.
Hey, I did that on a business
people
podcast. You just wait. That's why I didn't do it this time.
Joe, how about for you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm really active on LinkedIn. So just my name, Joe Llamas. It's LLAMAS. You can hit our website at runningbulltech.com, or I'll give my email as well, joe@runningbulltech.com. And I'm happy to talk about any kind of immersive technology, VR, AR, MR. You get the brand new Apple Pro headset, Vision Pro. Let me know.
Very cool.
Awesome. I love it. I will make sure to put as much of this in the video description below for all of you. I think you're all on LinkedIn and such as well, so I'll probably pop those in there. From a safe standpoint for all of you that are watching this later on, at least go send it just a quick direct message through LinkedIn. Say, hey, saw you on the business spotlight, and just wanted to say, hey, great conversation, that sort of thing. So with that, I just want to say thank you all for being here, for being a part of this panel. It's been a phenomenal conversation. I know we could probably go for another hour with all the fun stuff. We covered 3 main topics, but it was super fun to go deep and hear some different things. So thank you all for being here and playing full out.